Conservatism is explicitly about not being able to appropriately interpret media, because if they did, they would realize basically everything they've ever loved is a reinforcement of our political views. Here I am, vibing, and I realize it's been a while since we've taken a look at a Matt Walsh video, you know? And immediately one of these jumps out to me. Reviewing woke kids shows with Matt Walsh. You know, the funny thing is, if I did this and then made my own video, it could have this exact same title. Reviewing woke kids shows with Matt Walsh. Not this again. I know, but I want to see.
You know, back in my day, growing up in the utopian Garden of Eden period known as 1990s.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
I can't believe Matt Walsh is also a 90s kid.
We had kid shows, which the interesting thing about the kid shows is that they were shows.
I'm sorry, really quickly. Does he look okay to you guys? It's been a while since I've seen Matt Walsh, but I feel like he looks 50 right now. He looks a little bit tired. I hope he's doing okay.
For kids. That's what they were for. And some of them were better than others. Some were kind of weird. Some were kind of stupid. Some were artistic masterpieces. Like, for example, the Nickelodeon show Salute Your Shorts, which is a 90s show that every 90s kid remembers and then is shocked to discover that every other 90s kid remembers it too. Now, the thing about the...
I think that might have been a little too old for me. I'm afraid I don't remember that one. I'm 27. I was born in 94, so I was 6 years old when the 90s ended.
Shows is that their primary goal was to entertain, as I remember. That's different from the situation that we have today, where kids shows seem to consider entertainment sort of a secondary concern. The primary goal now is to ensure that the children in the audience adopt the correct political and ideological viewpoints.
The funny thing about that is that I think by literally anyone's standards, cartoons have gotten objectively better. Like, we're living in a renaissance of Western animation right now, seriously. Everything from, like, Flapjack and Regular Show and Adventure Time, Owl House, Gravity Falls. It's like, yeah, like, there's this huge explosion of high-quality, kind of kid-oriented Western animation. The funny thing is, when conservatives say this, like, they're trying to teach our kids to be woke, is that don't conservatives talk all the time about injecting their own political messaging into media? Look at that kids show that, like, PragerU puts forward. I'm sorry, is that kids show from PragerU putting entertainment first?
Man, all this talk about communists is making me hungry.
Or is it putting political messaging first? Like, let's be honest with ourselves here. You value the injection of political messaging into media, you just disagree with the messaging. So let's not turn it into this broad, like, you have a problem with political messaging in cartoons at all.
Wheel of morality, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the lesson that we should learn.
And by correct, I mean those views that are in keeping with the mainstream beliefs of our culture, and by that I mean incorrect. So by correct, I mean incorrect. We'll begin with the latest example, and maybe the worst. This one is fresh out of the indoctrination oven. It's the show Muppet Babies,
here we go,
in which Gonzo comes out as a gender-fluid cross-dresser. Yes, really.
By the way, by comes out as, keep in mind that Gonzo's gender has been described as whatever by his creator like years and years ago, and Gonzo was in a dress in like the 70s. Again, they're always like, you know, the woke mob is tearing apart our history. Who will defend Western culture? The future is now, or the past is now, maybe. Something is now. I don't know. Just whatever. Not new.
You all expected me to look a certain way.
See, this is why it's so important to have a father in the home. It's clear that Gonzo doesn't have a father in the home to say, hey, take that thing off. You look stupid. Get that thing off of you.
Take that ridiculous thing off.
You know,
Nice
some
reference.
people will point out that kid shows in the past have had episodes where boys dress as girls, and that's true. But in the past, whether it was a kid show or something for older kids or you know, older audiences, something like Mrs. Doubtfire, a movie from the 90s, Robin Williams, in the past, this plot point was always played for laughs, right? It was supposed to be funny. The point was that boys look stupid in girls' clothes, and we should laugh about it.
Oh, yeah! Well, you know what I think?
Who cares what you think? You're a girl now!
And that's the end of the episode. Also, if I remember this episode correctly, wasn't the point of this episode that Timmy Turner ended up significantly humanizing the female characters in the show by realizing how much shit they had to put up with? Wasn't the whole point of this? Also, Timmy Turner didn't put on a cross-dress here. Timmy Turner was literally a girl here. It's magic. It's holistic. Yeah, I think... Yeah, if I explicitly remember the point of this episode being Timmy realizing that women had to put up with a lot of misogyny. Why would you use this as an example? There are plenty of examples you can find of cross-dressing exclusively being derisive. Why would you use this example?
Now the point is that wearing girls' clothes is great and courageous, and more boys should try it. You know, if you've raised your kids correctly, and they were to watch Muppet Babies and they saw that, they would start laughing. Like, if my boys watch Muppet Babies, which they won't.
I wish I could debate him. So, hey, Matt, can we talk about, like, boys in dresses sometimes? You do know that, like, medieval kings wore dresses, right? By what standard exactly are dresses so weird on God? Like, why? Who cares? What objective argument are you going to reach out to on this one? Yeah, go back in time and call Henry V a fatherless cuck or something. I don't know. Have fun in a dungeon? Yeah, they wore high heels, too. Which was dumb. High heels are dumb in general. Nobody should wear them.
But if they did and they saw that, they would just laugh hysterically because they would say that's so silly and ridiculous, which it is. But now it's the goal is quite the opposite of that, which is, among other things, extremely creepy. Next, we have the show Arthur.
How is it creepy? So wait, this is another thing that conservatives do. They say that putting boys in dresses sexualizes them. Are you sexualizing little girls when they wear dresses? It's very weird. It's like they can only imagine that, like, a boy wearing a dress is a component of some kind of sexual fantasy, which says a lot about them. Like, a lot about them. Huge self-report on their end there. Maybe that's why Matt Walsh didn't finish that Fairly Odd Parents episode and find out that it actually didn't support his argument. It's because he saw Timmy Turner in a dress and he, like, had to leave to the bathroom. I don't know. It's really weird.
One that I remember from my childhood as well, the show about a lovable aardvark. I think that's what he is, but I could be wrong. He used to be lovable. Right. Anyway, he's lost a bit of his charm now that he's pushing critical race theory.
Hey, Arthur.
Copyright. Copyright.
It's because they're black. Racism is so unfair. Buster, it happens everywhere.
Anyway, I do like them giving the game away that to Matt Walsh, critical race theory is just saying racism exists. Like, it's so obvious that that term means nothing apart from, like, a general opposition to the acknowledgement of racism's existence. Like, look at them pushing critical race theory, and it's somebody being like, hey, racism's bad and it happens, and that's all it takes. Like, that you actually have to get to postgraduate level law courses in order to learn that, you know? They don't teach you that beforehand. You have to get to law school.
Mrs. McRady, whatever your name is. Why does it keep happening? Well, for the same reason that unicorns keep shitting on your roof. Uh-huh. That is, it's not happening.
Oh.
Like, at
no
all.
Racism.
There have been comparatively few unjustified police shootings of anyone. Statistically, this is undeniable from a statistical standpoint. And almost
far more in America than anywhere else in the world. Also, is it racism doesn't exist because, like, only a few black guys get shot by the cops? What are we talking about?
almost none of them have any connection to racism. So this is not a thing that's actually happening. And yet the people behind Arthur want small children to imagine they live in a country where black people are being killed left and right for the color of their skin, just like walking on the street. They just get murdered by the cops.
I'm sorry, was the author clip exclusively about cops murdering people?
Well, racism is like a disease. If you don't treat it,
true.
Racism, and working hard to keep us all safe.
Why does this keep happening, Miss?
But you should know that a lot of grown-ups are fighting racism.
Ew, it also made me scared. I mean, this happened in our neighborhood.
Blood boil.
Me too.
Me? Yes, I saw the video too. And let me tell you, it made my blood...
Okay, so it's like one video of like a police Brutality? Is that it? Is that all we have? That's what Matt Walsh is triggered over? I don't know.
Just go on the internet and tell lies?
And by the way,
Don't
side note,
copyright me.
what does race even exist in the Arthur universe?
Apparently, yes. Yes. You can watch the episode and yes, you could because they mention it.
You can't just invent a holiday, Arthur.
Well, sure you can.
Wait, it's a nondescript racist event happening, though? It's not about the cops directly? Wait, they don't even mention the cops? I'm sorry, hold on. The stupidity of this really... Okay, hold on. So Matt Walsh's response to the critical race theory of acknowledging that racism exists is to deflect from the situation entirely by pretending the only metric by which you can measure racism is police killings. And that's it, and there's nothing else.
Does race even exist in the Arthur universe?
Yes.
You can't just invent a holiday, Arthur.
Well, sure you can.
Stop. Give him...
1966.
Not sure what's going on there exactly, but let's keep going. We'll stay on the racial side of things with this from a show that I don't even know what the show is, but it's called Steven Universe. Here it is.
Okay, you can't keep doing this to me. Okay, yes, so this is the segment that Cartoon Network put out where they talk about racism. I can't play these in their entirety. How does he get away with this? I'm live streaming. I'll lose my ability to live stream. I didn't think that he would just put out... Did you know Black History? Cartoon Network put out a couple of Steven Universe-themed PSAs on racism, which were done in the context of the characters, and they were, like, pretty cute. I don't know.
Black medieval knights, black classical musicians, black cowboys, black fighter...
Pearl's point here is that history doesn't teach much about black people, which is true. Matt Walsh's response is going to be that white men built this country.
Cowboys, black fighter pilots. Where are they?
Okay. I don't want to get into a historical debate with a cartoon, but at the same time,
yeah, you do.
No, you could not attribute the light bulb to Lewis Latimer if you actually care about things like the truth and historical accuracy. You know, those little details like that. Yes, Latimer innovated a filament for the bulb. He didn't invent the filament, but he did come up with a better, longer-lasting filament, which is great. That doesn't equate to inventing the light bulb. All right? I could invent a more durable...
What's this guy's name? Lewis Latimer? Fact check. Lewis Latimer invented a longer-lasting filament for light bulbs, not the light bulb itself. Okay? So he invented, like, the cool filament? That's cool.
Tire or a more reliable braking system. Well, I couldn't do that, but somebody could. That doesn't mean that I get to claim that I invented the car, though. And I can't invent the car because it's already been invented. So there's that little detail. As for the actual inventor of the light bulb, there is a debate that could be had about who exactly that was. Edison deserves most of the credit that he gets. Joseph Swan is an English scientist, also developed an incandescent bulb independently. But Joseph Swan was white. So the fact is, many of the most important inventions in modern society were given to us by white people, usually men.
I knew we were getting around to it. Were given to us, by the way. I like the language.
Men. Not all, but a great many. That's not a racist statement. That is just a fact.
So the argument here isn't that white men produced most of the stuff in this country's history, which makes sense because for centuries, white men were the only people with the wealth and power to invent anything. You know, for the most part. The argument here is that there are many historical contributions made from non-white people, and from women, for that matter, that often get overlooked in history books, because in order for history books to tell those little vignettes, tell those little stories, they have to acknowledge the relatively dispositioned or disempowered position that those people produce those things from. And because oftentimes history books don't really want to acknowledge that or get into its depth, it just kind of gets glossed over. And yeah, that's a pretty provable thing, you know? When we write history books, we're not actually engaging in history, we're engaging in historiography. History books tell a story, and what we leave in and what we take out of that story is largely a product of conscious and unconscious bias. What do we want to tell? What stories do we want to relay? It's possible to tell a version of history where America is just this perfect, unassailably moral country. And it's possible to turn to tell a version of it where it's this monstrous, destructive, immoral nation. And ultimately, it is the job of people who make history textbooks to thread the line and try to tell what they think is important and what they think produces the best messaging. That's why authoritarian governments like Trump, his patriotic education, what they do in China, what they do in North Korea, what they did in Soviet Russia or Nazi Germany, is usually to highly curtail the information told in a way to promote patriotism, ethno-nationalism, and the supremacy of certain groups over others, which is what Matt Walsh is explicitly in favor of here.
It's also not something to be ashamed of, or embarrassed about, or competitive about, or angry about. Rather than trying to steal this invention from Thomas Edison when he's not even around to defend himself, how about saying, hey, thanks, Thomas Edison? You're at least one good...
That's what we should be doing. If only we were just thanking Thomas Edison more. What?
White guy that's been out there. There are many others, it turns out. All right, so no list of woke children's shows.
I noticed, by the way, that he kind of skipped by the broader point being made by Pearl in that Steven Universe info segment and just kind of hyper-fixated on the filament thing, which I don't really have any strong opinions on.
Those would be complete without the Blue's Clues drag queen episode,
Yeah.
which maybe you've seen by now, but it's got to be on the list. So
Bring
let's
it in.
all enjoy that once again.
Hey, Blue, look at...
All right. Yep. Once again, this is like 5 fucking minutes. Yep. Okay. We're going to kind of skip it by. Okay. We've got a drag queen up front, I'm guessing. We've got some gay crocodile. Is that a lesbian flag? I don't know the fucking flags. This is a lesbian flag, right? The crocodile's holding? Is it? Yes? Okay. Gay bow tie, lesbian flag. That's what we call appropriation. Oh, we got the bi POC trans queer whatever flag over here on the right. Okay, let's see. This family has 2 mamas. That's probably why the lesbian flag is there. That makes sense. Then we got the flag again. And then here are the trans beavers. As evidenced by the fact that everything here is trans. And what is that? Is that an ace flag on the heart? That's ace, right? The white, purple, and gray. Or is that demi? That's demi? Demisexual. Okay, gotcha. We got the stuff, and yeah, here they are. Look at them. They're having a great time. This, you can't see it because of my camera, but this one over here on the right, that beaver, has some barely visible trans mask top surgery scars from the bubo remubo, as one does. I don't know how necessary that was, because it seems like nobody anywhere has tits anyway, but, you know, it's Blue's Clues. We got that. There's the drag queen, and okay, we skipped copyright. Nicely done.
Pushing drag queens and like 3-year-olds. By the way, is a show for preschoolers. Okay, like 3-year-olds. Pushing drag queens and pansexuals. Do you know what a typical plot for Blue's Clues used to be? Steve, who it was the guy, and he would lose his glue stick.
This is like from
And
30
he'd have
years
to
ago.
find it. And he would ask Blue, hey, Blue, do you know where my glue stick is? And Blue would be all coy about it, even though Blue knows where the damn glue stick is. He won't just tell Steve where it is. So he starts planting all these clues around the house. And Steve is very patient. He's like, okay, I got to go through all, we're going to spend 30 minutes looking for the damn glue stick. You just tell me where it is, Blue. But he doesn't do that. He actually goes, and so that's the whole episode, is just Steve trying to find his glue stick.
And isn't the Blue is a girl? Oh, I don't know. Isn't the modern episode that we were looking at, the only point is like, yay, they're all happy. Like, isn't this also an acceptable plot point for smooth-brained 3-year-olds? I mean, they're all just like, we're happy, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, okay, seems fine.
Steve trying to find his glue stick. And at the end, he finds it.
Nice.
And
That's
that's the
not
end
a
of the
glue stick! That's Elmer's glue. That's not a glue stick.
And that's the end of the show. That was a kid's show. And now we have pansexual toads
Yeah,
and
nice.
bisexual turtles singing about their favorite sexual orientation. So a little bit of a different approach, I suppose. Okay, one more. We'll close.
Wait, that wasn't even an argument. Oh, come on, Matt. Matt, come on. Justify your paycheck. Come on. You have to give an argument for why any of this is bad. You can't just say, things have changed in the past 30 years. Okay. We know. We're fine with it, so make an argument for why we shouldn't be. I thought he was at least going to trudge out those old arguments about how it's pedophilic to acknowledge that sexualities exist around children, like heterosexuality.
With lesbian horses on My Little Pony. Let's watch this.
Cool.
You three true.
Oh, God. Wait, are we really going to complain about MLP? Who cares about lesbian horses and MLP? The only people who watch MLP are fucking weirdo college students anyway. Why? Okay. What is the
Only
thing?
have a gift for helping ponies.
Okay, just give me the closed caption.
Aw, thanks, Aunt.
Oh, thank you. But I'm not sure we can take credit for this one. Of course. You can encourage that cult to try new things because you believe he's succeeded. I could use that kind of help. Come on, Auntie Lofi. You know you're kidding, Mark. A lot of good it does me. What? I can't decide what theme to give this quilt. I've run out of inspiration. How about apples and puppies, a cotton candy, a bottle, a quart? All right. Thank you. Stop.
I was okay. I was waiting because, well, first of all, I didn't mean to misgender the horses. That's actually not a horse. That's a unicorn, it would seem. But you know how bad it's gotten? That was the tamest thing we saw. I was like,
wait, that's it? You can't, Matt, you have to make an argument. You can't just show it and then say, okay, all right, that was bad, wasn't it? You have to make an argument, Matt, you have to make an argument. Come on, Matt.
Waiting for, that was downright quaint and conservative in comparison to what you normally do.
It was just two moms. There have been two moms households for ages. You can see them in history books. It's like Queen Ottenskaya Dumpelflumper IV never married a husband or sired children, instead choosing to spend her time with her chambermaid, who they died together and were buried in the same casket. They were truly the best of gal pals. This happens all throughout history. What about this? Why are we triggered? Why?
From kid shows these days. I mean, it's only a lesbian couple on My Little Pony.
Yeah, what?
The lesbian unicorns, they're not even into like BDSM or anything. There's no subplot where one of them gets a sex change.
Nothing in anything that we've looked at has anything to do with BDSM or sex changes. And also, please do not display my fetishes on stream. Thank you.
This is old-fashioned. Really. That's how bad it's gotten. And it's just one more reason why you should turn the TV off. Send your kids outside. Let them go run and play, scrape their knees, bloody their noses a little bit. Minor injuries await them outdoors, but at least they'll still have their souls.
At least Satan's spidery grasp won't have clutched them from the television screen as they watch and learn the existence of lesbians. The comments have got to be like the best part here, right? The Blue's Clues pride thing is still one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen. I wish people would just let kids be kids. Sexuality doesn't need to be in cartoons at all. True! Get these hets out of my cartoons. Rugrats? Why are there moms and dads? Why are there children? Did people have sex to produce those children? In a kid's show? Get these hets out of here, okay? Out! Get them out, all right? I'd feel safer leaving my kids the Book of Matches than an unscreened cartoon. These are fun times. Just wow, as Pink Floyd would say, teacher, leave those kids alone. It's funny because Pink Floyd were like a left-leaning band that were specifically protesting the conservatism of the post-war English educational system, you know? I don't think Pink Floyd would agree with their ascription here. Matt's head while watching this. Is this what our grandfathers died for? Yes. I'm black and cringed so hard at that Arthur clip. Jesus Christ, let kids be kids. When I was growing up, I didn't even know what race was. Why is this always the argument they use? Let kids be kids. Be completely ignorant of what's going on in the world. What is that? Also, I don't believe this person. When I was growing up, I didn't know what race was and I was black. I would be very surprised if at no point that conversation came up, okay? Black parents tend to have the talk with their kids pretty young, you know. Cartoons in the 2040s, hey little kid, tell your parents to vote Democrat. Based, even better. In the 2050s, cartoons, hey little kid, learn how to forge a signature and take the identities of these dead Americans who died in the 70s, okay? And vote fraudulently with them for Democratic candidates. Absolutely. That is what cartoons in the 2050s will be like. True. Very, very true. Instead of teaching boys to wear things like dresses, we should teach them it's okay to wear historical clothing like cloaks, robes, and other cool stuff. Tip, 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 tip. What happened? Boys today wear dresses, whereas men like me, who wears a fedora and an overcoat, girls won't even give me the time of day. All girls want to do these days is fuck Harry Styles, who wears dresses. But when I wear a codpiece and a 16th century recreation coat over an inlaid silk shirt, no one gives me the time of day. Milady, this hat is not cringe, okay? This is a steampunk top hat, and were it not restricted by the laws of my state, it would indeed contain a button-activated, forward-firing, 4-shot pistol, which I could use to effortlessly dispatch anyone who dared interfere with the date of me and my lady. Move on. Did anyone else notice that even after Gonzarella revealed her true self, Miss Piggy insists on dead-naming her a good 3 or 4 times? What a bigot. That's funny, because they're ascribing some stuff here. Did Gonzo ever say you can't call me Gonzo or that my pronouns changed? I don't think they did. I think they're just making this up, like, completely, you know? So glad I grew up in the late 90s into the early 2000s, not this generation. Thank God I was born the year 1997. Oh my God! You're 24. So glad I was born in my generation. You're literally a Zoomer. You were literally Gen Z. What's the Gen Z cutoff? Gen Z cutoff. 1997. You're literally Gen Z, okay? Shut up. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. So glad I was born. By the way, the cartoons that they were growing up with weren't exactly... Didn't Static Shock talked about race? Plenty of cartoons in that time talked about gender issues. Everything from SpongeBob to The Fairly Odd Parents to Avatar The Last Airbender. Avatar The Last Airbender talked about everything, by the way. Everything. It talked about everything. Does anyone remember those old WB, Justice League, Avatar, and Batman cartoons? For the most part, those weren't like super political. It was mostly just like them fighting super villains or whatever. But when it got into Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, it got to be pretty fucking political. In Justice League Unlimited, the plot of the first season is explicitly all of the Justice League heroes are in an orbital nuclear laser cannon above Earth, and the US government is like, I really don't like that. I feel uncomfortable right now. So they build a Black Ops project and end up collaborating with supervillains in an effort to form a kind of internal power block capable of fighting against the Justice League. And they explicitly talk about the role of government, the way violence frees you from the law. They explicitly talk about that. In a lot of ways, the Justice League Unlimited first season story arc is actually more responsible with its political depiction of superheroes than almost any other story I've ever seen. There's an explicit recognition that people like Superman, Green Arrow even says this to him. The Green Arrow, the guy with the pointed beard, you know, the lefty guy, he literally says, like, how the fuck can you blame the US government for wanting to find a way to kill you? You could go down there and mow the country down. You could literally flatten DC. How could you ever be mad at people for wanting to do that? Everyone is terrified of you. You can be as good of a person as you want, but it doesn't change the fact that the rules don't apply to you, you know? Later on, they literally turn themselves in on an arrest warrant, and they're like, do we even handcuff them? It wouldn't even contain them. And they're like, yeah, I guess we do anyway. And they have to go along with it. People like Superman have to consent to being arrested, you know? Anyway, that's more political than a lot of the shit that comes out today. And there were explicit depictions, roller go, blah, 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 blah. That stuff, I mean, and this was like, what, early 2000s? You know? Yeah, X-Men. X-Men is literally an allegory for the civil rights movement. And that they were doing that stuff back in the 80s, weren't they? Early 90s? Early 90s, thank you. I didn't watch, yeah. Yeah, a lot of those early cartoons were pretty goddamn Pretty goddamn pog, I would say. The Watchmen, yeah, for sure. I remember shows like Courage the Cowardly Dog, Teen Titans, and Hey Arnold, where they did have an episode that had a moment where a character was treated in a prejudiced way, but the whole point of the episode wasn't to push an agenda of values. They are right there. They're right there at the border of awareness. They're right there. I remember these older cartoons did explicitly deal with issues of discrimination and social malignment, but they weren't like being woke about it. This is the thing. This is why I said conservatives today would cancel The Last Airbender. They don't realize the stuff that they like from the past also did the things they don't like from today. Conservatism is like a conceptual inability to engage in media analysis. Conservatism is explicitly about not being able to appropriately interpret media, because if they did, they would realize basically everything they've ever loved is a reinforcement of our political views. The Arthur bit was the cringiest thing I've ever witnessed. Arthur's always cringy. Have you seen the cadence in those shows? Everything feels awkward and stilted. I don't know why. It's just the way they do. I don't know. It's just the way they do the show. It's something about the way they pace the voice actors. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a bad show. It's just the way they do it, you know? It's so dumb kids can understand. Yeah, it's dumb kids, you know? On TV, gee, racism is so unfair. It sure is. Meanwhile, in real life, white people bad. Oh, they want to be the victims so bad. They acknowledge racism here, but isn't the real racism against white people? I remember when kids' TV shows were about being a kid. When? And are they not now? Damn, dude, even the wokest shows today are still fundamentally about being a dumbass kid having cool adventures. Like, Steven Universe is political as shit, but fundamentally it's just about like a fat 10-year-old zipping around in circles fighting off an alien empire. I mean, who the fuck, who didn't want to do that when they were a kid? You know? That's like, that's all I wanted to do when I was 10 years old. Steven is 14. Okay, well, he looks like a 10-year-old. They even acknowledge that in the show. There's an episode where, like, you haven't grown in a while, and it's because his tiny, dumb, idiot brain won't let him move past having the body of a tiny, bloated child. Funny how they said people are being judged by the color of their skin, when that's exactly what CRT teaches them to do. Curious. I love these. I did expect this comment section to be more full of people being like, I can't believe these modern cartoons have Satan and pedophiles in them, you know? This is actually a little bit more civil than I expected, but why do these people act like kids don't encounter racism? Because they don't actually think racism exists. Matt Walsh pretty explicitly spelled it out here. They think the only real racism left is racism against white people. That the only racism that can exist is explicit legal discrimination and stuff like affirmative action and the president saying stuff like white rage or whatever. Like, that's the real racism, you know, and that everything else is non-existent. Bosch has his own stream recommended to him. Yeah, don't know why they do that, by the way. It's literally on my channel and my stream and my recommended bar. Do they think I need this? Like, I know I'm streaming. I'm live, you know? I remember. Watch it. Well, there we are. I remember. Yep. Goodbye.